two parameter attractive type of potential. One is Gaussian type, another is Yukawa square well, which involves the strength of the potential and the range of the potential. So that means the nuclear forces are very strong. When they are far apart, there will be no force, but when they come within a certain range, there is a very strong attraction between the neutron and the protons. Now, if this is the case, then it puts a big question on the stability of the nucleus, because if only the attractive force is there, then they may come very close to each other, fuse with each other. So there is a question on the stability of the nucleus. Now, to maintain the stability of the nucleus, or to maintain the identity of the neutrons and protons within the nucleus, the hardcore potential was proposed. There is the hardcore potential means there is a certain distance below which there is a very strong repulsion between the nucleons, so that they cannot come close to each other. Now, therefore, the nuclear potential involves more than two parameters. More than two parameters. Besides this strength and range, there is a hardcore radius which prevents the particle from coming very close to each other. So one of the example of such kind of potential is the hardcore potential. The most important example of this kind is the hardcore potential. Now the hardcore potential is written as is defined as V is equal to infinity when R, the distance of separation between the two nucleons is less than RC, is the core radius, and is equal to minus V0 if a function of R by Rn when R is greater than RC. RC is the core radius, and this is a function of, say, very like the Yukawa or say Gaussian, is a short range function. Now this kind of potential implies a very strong repulsive force at R equal to RC. When R equal to RC, there is a very strong repulsion between the two nucleons, and when it is just outside the R equal to RC, there is a strong attraction between the two particles. Now, therefore, R is equal to RC is the hardcore radius. So it implies that there is a strong repulsion at R equal to RC with an attractive force outside. Now therefore there are three parameters are involved here. One is the depth of the potential, another is the range Rn, and another is Rc, the core radius. Since the distance between two nucleus cannot become smaller than Rc. The nucleus may be considered as hard sphere of diameter Rc. Rc is the core radius, so the two nucleons or two nucleus cannot come more closer than Rc. So it is assumed that the two nucleus which are interacting or two nucleons, they have the diameter Rc, that means two spheres whose diameter is Rc, that is their center to center distance cannot be less than Rc. This R cannot be less than Rc. Okay, the center to center distance. So this is the concept of the hard sphere or the repulsive core. Now, therefore in deriving the nuclear force with three parameters, that is hard core, strength of the potential and range of the potential, we are making certain assumptions here. Here we have assumed that the potentials are, say, central potential. It depends only on the distance of separation between the two particles, R. Now here we assume that the particles are non-relativistic. That means the relative velocity of the two particles or two nucleons are much less than the velocity of the light. So the first assumption is the concept of potentials, the concept of these potentials is valid only for non-relativistic particles. Non-relativistic particles. It is expected to be valid for nucleons bound in nuclei or moving with when they are free or moving small kinetic energy. So the case is non-deterministic. Secondly, these potentials are central. That means they depend only on the distance between the two particles. These potentials are central. And the resulting force is directed along the line joining these two particles. But this is true only for, say, point particles, but nucleons are not point particles. And the resulting force is directed along the line joining the particles. But this is not true, because this is only true for the point particles. The nucleons are not point particles. But besides this, these two parameter potentials are not actually valid, because in the nuclear potential there are several parameters. Because if we consider the velocity dependent forces, because the velocity dependent forces are excluded here, because the particles within the nuclear, neutrons and protons, they have certain relative velocity, so they also depend on the relative coordinates of the two particles. And also the nucleons have intrinsic spins. Nucleons have intrinsic spins. That is, neutron has spin half, proton has spin half, so they have their own intrinsic spin directions, and when this spin direction will combine, they will form another direction, that is J, direction of J, total angular momentum or the spin of the nucleus. So the nuclear force also depends either the angle between them, two intrinsic spins, or the angle between the total spin and the line joining the two particles. So nuclear force depends on all these factors. But for simplicity, we consider here, we exclude these velocity dependent forces and all these factors. So nuclear forces are not only 2 or 3 parameter potential. There are several parameters are involved in the nuclear potential, because there are tensor forces are also there, and spin interaction, spin orbit interaction. So several parameters are there. In the modern potentials, there are several parameters. Maybe say more than 50 parameters are there in certain potentials. But there are no such potential model which can explain all the properties of the nuclei. So therefore, the nuclear force is still mysterious. There is no such single potential model which can explain all the properties of a nuclei. Now, therefore, here we get the 3 parameters of the potential. One is the strength, another is range, and another is the core radius. Now we found a relation for the deuteron. What will be the relation between these 3 parameters for a deuteron? Now we consider the deuteron problem. solve this problem by the quantum mechanical theory. That means we have to solve the Schrodinger equation, and then we get a relation between these three parameters. Now, for deuteron, it is called the relation between range and depth of the potential. Relation between range and depth of potential. Now, for simplicity of calculation, we consider here a square well potential. And the method of quantum mechanics will be applied. That means we have to solve the Schrodinger equation, because in classical mechanics, the basic defining equation is the Newton's law of motion, second law of motion usually. And in quantum mechanics, the basic equation is the Schrodinger wave equation. Now, quantum mechanical problem will be applied, and in solving this problem, certain initial assumptions. What are the initial assumptions? Initial assumptions are, we consider here that the two nucleons, that is proton and neutron, are of approximately equal mass. Although the proton and neutron have different masses, there is a small difference, but we consider here they have the equal mass. The first assumption is that the deuteron consists of two nucleons, one proton and a neutron of approximately equal mass. This is the first assumption. Second one, the force is nuclear in origin. The force is nuclear in origin and central. And is attractive and central. And third one, only we consider these two, the velocity dependent forces are excluded. We don't consider any other forces, velocity dependent forces. The velocity dependent forces are excluded. With this initial assumption, we shall study the deuteron problem. Now, therefore we have a potential, we consider here for simplicity of calculation the square well potential. Now, we consider here a hardcore square well potential. That with this hardcore potential, square wave potential, we have to write the Schrodinger equation. Now, in the center of mass system, in the center of mass system, the Schrodinger equation for the two-body problem is written as minus h cross square by twice m del square psi plus d psi equal to e psi. Suppose this is equation number 1. But this M is the reduced mass of the system. M is the reduced mass, where M is the reduced mass. And M is equal to, suppose there are two particles, one is of mass m1, another is m2, then m1 m2 by m1 plus m2. This is the reduced mass. Because in quantum mechanics, you are aware of these things that any n body problem can be reduced to n minus 1 body problem. Now here we have two body problem. In the deuteron, two nucleons are there, so it's a two body problem. So in the center of mass, it can be converted into a one body problem with this reduced mass. This is the potential in the Schrodinger equation acting between the two particles. Rn, the range of the potential, here Rn is not coming, and E, which is involved in Schrodinger equation. These two parameters are involved, E and E. E is the total energy of the system. Total energy of the system. Now, if we consider that our potential has a spherical symmetry, then we have to solve the Schrodinger equation, which we have written in equation number 1, that we have to solve in the spherical polar coordinate system. Now, therefore, in the spherical polar coordinate system, because as the potential has a spherical symmetry, so we solve it in the spherical polar coordinate system, and in that case, the total wave function can be written in terms of the radial part and the angular part. And as it is a potential have the spherical symmetry, so angular part in this case is not important. Only the importance is the radial equation. Therefore, the wave function psi can be written as, that is, it can be separated into radial and the angular part, which is written as psi equal to UL by R. UL is the radial part, UL by R, and YLM, the spherical harmonics, YLM theta phi. As the potential has spherical symmetry, so this angular part has no importance here, only the radial part is important. Now, therefore, the radial equation, UL is the radial wave function, UL is the radial wave function, Now the radial part of the Schrodinger equation, therefore, the radial Schrodinger equation is obtained as, if we substitute this in the equation and separate into the radial part and angular part, then the radial equation comes out to be d2 ul dr2 plus twice m by h cross square e minus v minus L into L plus 1 by twice m r square h cross square ul equal to 0. Suppose this is equation number 2, radial equation. Now this part we define the centrifugal barrier. The importance of this part is the repulsive force. The effect of this centrifugal barrier is to keep the particle far apart always. Now therefore L into L plus 1 by twice this quantity, it is the centrifugal potential. The effect of the centrifugal potential is to keep the particles apart. The repulsive force it is L into L plus 1 h cross square by twice and r square is to force the particle apart. Now to achieve the binding, if the system has to be bound, then in that case the strength of the potential should be much stronger. It should be negative, attractive, and V should be much stronger so that it can compensate these repulsive forces. And this can be accomplished in a better way in case where we consider L equal to 0, that is the S-wave case. If we consider S-wave case for which the angular momentum L equal to 0, then this repulsive part is not there, our potential is attractive, so it can form a bound state. Now therefore, here we consider the case L equal to 0. Now, because why we consider the L equal to 0? Because we know that deuterium ground state is the S state, because it exists in the ground state in the S state. Now therefore, we consider here the case L equal to 0 and we omit the subscript L in the radial wave function throughout this text. Now therefore, here we consider say L equal to 0, that is the S wave case. So L equal to 0 S wave case, so this subscript, this L, we will not write it at U0, we omit it. This part will not be written in the next. So U means the S wave radial wave function. Now, in the S wave case, now we consider the hardcore potential here. Therefore, the hardcore potential is represented as now suppose I draw the picture here. The potential is plotted along the y-axis and the radial distance r is along the x-axis. Now suppose we have a hardcore potential. That means it goes to infinity. The particles cannot come here. The square well potential whose depth is V0 and this distance is core radius, suppose this is C, and this is the binding energy of the system. This is EB. Now, the width of the potential, suppose this is B. So, this is the point of discontinuity, finite discontinuity, and this is the point of infinite discontinuity. Now, suppose this is our region number 1, this is region number 2, and this is your region number 3. We divide the whole region into 3 parts, region number 1, 2 and 3. Now the wave function in this case this is the u of r. 0 is omitted here. This is the plot of the potential and the wave function. It's a hardcore potential. The core radius is C. Width of the potential is B. Depth of the potential is V0, and EB is the binding energy of the system, and this is the radial wave function. Now, as the region 1, we know the core is infinite height, so there is no possibility of finding the particles within the region C. So here the wave function will be equal to 0 always. Region 2, we solve the Schrodinger equation with this potential and find, and region 3, the potential is 0. We again solve the Schrodinger equation and find the wave function. Now, in the quantum mechanical problem, you know that how to solve, how to apply the boundary condition on Schrodinger equation. Now, if the potential has a finite discontinuity at a certain point, here at r equal to b plus c, this is the point of finite discontinuity because the potential has a finite height, V0 discontinuity is here. So at this boundary r equal to b plus c, both the wave function at region 2 and 3 and their derivatives will match at this point. That is, the logarithmic derivative of the wave function is continuous across this boundary because finite discontinuity is there. But if there are infinite discontinuities, this is the point r equal to c is the point of infinite discontinuity. So here only the wave function of these two regions will match at this boundary, not their derivatives. So this is the boundary condition of Schrodinger equation. If the potential has a finite discontinuity, then at that boundary the logarithmic derivative of the wave function will be continuous. And if the potential has infinite discontinuity at a certain point, then only the wave function will be continuous, not its derivative. Now we shall apply these boundary conditions to solve this Schrodinger equation with this potential. Now Now the radial Schrodinger equation, therefore, in region 2, the Schrodinger equation reads as, from equation 2, in equation 2 you put L equal to 0 and put the value of the potential, then in that case you get d2u dr2, C subscript is omitted, plus twice m by h cross square v0 minus eb u, that is equal to 0. Because here V is equal to minus V0, the strength of the potential, and E, the total energy is minus EB, binding energy, negative. Okay, all these two values substituted here and we get this equation. Suppose this is equation number 3. And in region 3, what we get, the potential there 0, there will be no potential. So in that case you get d2u dr2 plus minus twice m by h cross square eb u equal to 0. So equation number 4. Here potential is not there. Now if we substitute this quantity is certain value, we put this is certain value, it is twice m eb by h cross square, twice m eb by h cross square equal to alpha square, and the other thing, this kappa square is equal to twice m by h cross square, that is this quantity, v0 minus ev, then we can write it is at say v0, that is kappa u, we write it as kappa 0 square, and what is this one? This is alpha square minus alpha square. Now with this constant we could replace here in equation 3 and 4, and what we get? Suppose this is equation 5 and this is 6. So in view of 5 and 6, the equation 3 and 4 can be written as, now in view of 5 and 6, equations 3 and 4 yield what we get? We get equation d2u dr2 plus kappa square u equal to 0, one equation, and another is d2u dr2 minus alpha square u equal to 0. These are the two equations. The solution of this equation 7 and 8 is well known to all of you. One can write the equation of this harmonic oscillator type equation, one can write in terms of sine and cos, either u is equal to a sine k kappa r plus b cos kappa r, and this is exponential, it's hyperbolic. So you can write e to the power minus alpha r or plus e to the power minus plus alpha r. Now, if we consider the solution of this equation as suppose say u, this is the region 2, u2, now we write it in this way, u2 of r. If we write it in this form, say a cos a sin kr plus b cos kappa r. Now this solution has to be 0 where at r is equal to c, because according to your question c is the hard core radius. So in region 1 the u equal to 0, so u of 2 at r equal to c is equal to u1 at r equal to c. So from that only this b part will come 0, only this part will be there, and the solution will be a sin k r minus c, because when r equal to c this part will be 0. Therefore, the solution of equation 7 and 8 which satisfies the proper boundary condition at r equal to c, and as r goes to infinity are the solutions of these equations satisfy the boundary conditions at r equal to c, and as r goes to infinity r, because when outside the range of the interaction it goes outside b. It is a bound state system, so the wave function must die out, and infinity means not really very large, infinity means just outside the range of the nuclear force. So the wave function should die out very quickly. So under this condition we write the wave functions as in equation in region 2 and 3. In region 2 we get u2 of r, that is a sin kappa r minus c, that is when r equal to c it goes to 0, and u3 b to the power minus alpha r, that is r goes to infinity, this will die out, it will be 0. Now therefore these are the two acceptable solutions satisfying the proper boundary condition. Now these are the two wave functions in region 2 and 3, and region 2 and 3 it is the point b plus c, r is equal to b plus c. So at r equal to b plus c, u2 and u3 they must match at r equal to b plus c. So a and b are here to normalization constants. Now equations, what will be the number here? 7, 8, suppose say 9 perhaps, and 10. Now equations according to Schrodinger boundary conditions, 9 and 10 must match at the boundary between region 2 and 3, at the boundary r equal to b plus c. That is r equal to b plus c, the wave function is a finite point of finite discontinuity, so the wave function should be equal and their derivatives will be equal. Now therefore if we apply the boundary condition of Schrodinger at the finite discontinuity of the potential, then what we get? One is that u2 is equal to u3 at r equal to b plus c, and du2 dr and is equal to du3 dr at r equal to b plus c. Therefore, the first, if we match at wave function, then for you get a sin kb is equal to b e to the power minus alpha b plus c, because r equal to b plus c, so c will cancel, you get only kb, and another derivative ak cos kappa b is equal to minus alpha b e to the power minus alpha b plus c. So the equation number 11 and this is equation number 12. Now from these two equations, if we divide this one by this, then what we get from equation 12 and 11 and 12, divide equation 12 by 11, then one gets, therefore from 11 and 12, what we get, that is k cot kb is equal to minus alpha, or cot kb minus alpha by kappa. Now this is implicit relation, no explicit, because the k involves the V0 and EB, and alpha contains only EB. So there is an implicit relation between the potential and the binding energy. Now, and the range. This is the range of the potential. Now here said depth of the potential is there, range of the potential there. Two unknown quantities. One equation. So this cannot be solved analytically. One has to solve it graphically. Now we solve this equation graphically. We have to solve the equation graphically. Now we put x is equal to kappa b. This x is equal to kappa b. Therefore, we get quat x is equal to minus alpha b by x. K is equal to x by b, substitute here. This is the equation. Now we plot first y equal to cot x once, and then y equal to minus alpha b by x. And the point of intersection of these two curves will give you the root or the solution of this equation. Now, if we plot the two functions, one is y equal to cot x and another y equal to minus alpha b by x. These two functions will be plotted graphically. Now, This is our y-axis and this is our x. Now this is 0. Suppose this is your pi by 2. This is pi. This is 3 pi by 2. This is 2 pi. Now first we plot y equal to cot x. Cot 0 is infinity, cot pi by 2 is 0. Now therefore, this is the y equal to cot x. Similarly here also you get the y equal to cot x, and now y equal to minus alpha b by x, 1 by x. That means as ax goes to infinity, it will go to 0. Now this is the, therefore our root point of intersection, this. Now you see here, although drawing is not proper here, just this point is slightly greater than pi by 2. This point is pi by 2. This is 3 pi by 2. Suppose these two graphs cuts each other at points which is slightly greater than 2n plus 1 pi by 2. So the roots of this equation are slightly larger than 2n plus 1 pi by 2. N equal to 0, you get slightly greater than pi by 2, 3 pi by 2. N is an integer, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Now, for the ground state wave function, we know that it is the minimum energy state. So, if the ground state is the minimum energy state, then it must have the largest possible wavelength. Energy is minimum, so the momentum is minimum. So, according to de Broglie's hypothesis, you get the lambda will be the maximum possible value, and therefore if the lambda is maximum possible, has the maximum possible value in the ground state, therefore the ground state wave function should have no node. It should not cut the x-axis or r-axis. Now therefore, as a first approximation, we consider that the root here is slightly greater than pi by 2, that means it lies in the second quadrant. First quadrant is up to pi by 2, and then slightly greater than pi by 2, that means it lies in the second quadrant. Now therefore the first root should be greater or equal to pi by 2, that is kb, and less or equal to pi. That means it lies slightly greater than 90, less than 180, that means it lies in the second quadrant. Now as a first approximation, as it is very close to pi by 2, we consider that kb is approximately equal to pi by 2. Now to a first approximation, what we consider that kb is equal to pi by 2. Now if we substitute this value of kb is equal to pi by 2, Now it delete. And Kb is equal to pi by 2. So kappa square b square is equal to pi square by 4. Or what is kappa square? Kappa square is twice m by h cross square into, that is d0 minus eb, which was written earlier, and that should be equal to pi square by 4. That means you have to substitute value of kappa square here. E square is already there. So you get d0 minus eb. Take this in this side. So you get pi square h cross square by 8 m b square. This is the relation. Now, as we know that the strength, depth of our potential is much larger compared to EB. EB is very small, the Deutschland binding energy, but the depth of the potential is much larger. So, if we neglect this one compared to this V0, then we get as say EB is much smaller than V0, then from this equation we get V0 is equal to pi square h cross square by 8 m b square, or V0 into b square is equal to pi square h cross square by 8 m. See, this is a constant quantity. Everything is constant here, pi h cross square 8m v0 b square. Therefore, the product of the depth and the square of the range of the potential is a constant quantity. Now, if we change, suppose these are the two parameters. The product is a constant quantity. One is v0. And this is the range B. Now, suppose the V0 is equal to 40 MeV, then you get say B is equal to about say 250 range. Now, if we want to increase the strength of the potential, suppose V0 is here, say 70 MeV, then what will happen? The range will reduce. Okay. Therefore, but the shape remains same. Similarly, if we decrease V0, the B will increase. Suppose for different kinds of potential, if we one takes V0 is equal to 40 and B is equal to 2 and calculate the physical observables. Now one considers V0 is equal to 70 MeV and calculate B accordingly, and calculate physical observables will remain same. So this is the shape invariant approximation. Whether we change the parameters accordingly, but the shape remain constant. So the product of the strength and the square of its range is a constant quantity. Okay.